You've heard that AI is going to change everything in business, but you're not sure what to do about it. In this video, I'm going to give you a simple 3-step framework to future-proof your business for the huge changes that are coming in the next year. And what's at stake? Entire businesses are at risk if you don't pay attention. Think about it this way. If your competition uses AI and cuts their costs to deliver by 20%, what could they do to pricing? They could increase margin for themselves and still undercut your prices. And this isn't just hype. Companies are reporting cutting their customer support costs by over 20%, cutting their product development times in half, partially replacing many kinds of office work, and reducing their marketing expenses by as much as 60%. But don't worry if you don't know how they're doing that. I'll get you up to speed toward the end of this video. Just understand that this isn't optional. Just like businesses who refuse to adopt online marketing, and 2 decades ago, they lost market share. The same thing is happening with AI. So how do you figure out what to do first, especially if you don't have an AI expert in your business? And maybe you're a little suspicious of hiring consultants because you don't really understand what the ROI is going to be. Here's the 3-step framework to figuring this out. Number 1, identify opportunities. Number 2, understand the ROI. And number 3, identify the who. We're going to look at each one of these. The first thing you'll do is identify what opportunities are in your company for using AI. You don't need to be an expert and you don't need to know what tools are available. What you should do is look at the business today, and you're looking for anything that's repetitive and relatively low value. That doesn't mean that the total cost to your company is a low amount, but it really means that they aren't the absolute core of what you do. Perfect examples are doing regular social media posts or doing customer support. Both of those are things that the business needs to do repeatedly, but they're relatively low value. If you think about the kinds of resources that you bring to that, they're not the highest level resources that are truly strategic to the business. Now, depending on your business, those might not be the highest expenses, but they're a great place to start because it's really easy to snap in an AI and get your feet wet with it. With that list, the next step is to understand ROI. Remember, at the end of this video, I'll give you a shortcut to doing these things, but for now, I want you to understand how to DIY it so the principles are clear. So by doing it yourself, going through this thinking process, you'll understand what you need to do, and therefore, you can figure out what the best resources are for you later. So to understand ROI, you need to compare your current cost to the cost that an AI-enabled business process can bring. At this point, that doesn't mean eliminating people entirely, because in most cases, AIs are not good enough to eliminate all the people. But at a bare minimum, they can make your current team way more effective. Right? We call that AI augmentation, right? You're taking your team and you're helping them do better with AI. Now, in some cases, entire roles can be replaced for a lot of OpEx savings, but you do need to retain certain roles that can supervise the AIs. Of course, you might not be an expert in what those cost savings are. Here is where, if you're DIYing this, you're doing it yourself, you'll have someone do some research. And what you're going to do is find multiple vendors who are selling AI solutions and ask them for case studies. And then you'll see, what did those case studies look like in terms of ROI and savings? Or ask them for actual data from their customers. And then assume they'll be half as effective as those cherry-picked case studies. And then you'll see a more realistic ROI that you might be able to get using these solutions. And then from that, you're saying, okay, well, what kind of ROI could be expected in these circumstances? And then you're kind of discounting it a bunch. And you're saying, okay, well, maybe I could expect this. This is at least giving you some directional data about what could this look like in your business. Now, the last and third step is to identify a who. Now, what that means is you want someone in your court who can help you avoid making expensive mistakes. Now, you've already done some research in the last step. You have an idea of the potential ROI. So at this point, you can feel comfortable retaining a consultant or an AI integration platform to realize that ROI. So you know where you're going, you know how much you can save, and now you can say, okay, I'm not just hiring a consultant blind saying, I don't know anything. You now know some things that will be very valuable. This way, you make sure you're making a financially financially sound decision. But wait, before you jump in, there are two things. One is a shortcut, and one is something that can be the difference between this being just another project that goes nowhere and taking your business to the next level. Since you're watching this video, you're probably not an expert in AI deployments. That's putting AI in your organizations. And your staff might not be terribly tech savvy, or they might be resistant to the idea of AI. They might think that you're trying to replace them with robots. And I hear that a lot from employees. In both cases, the way to get the benefit of AI without scaring the staff is to very clearly explain where AI is going to be used and how your team will still have a role. If you just say, oh, we're adding AI, everyone gets worried. If instead you say, we've broken down the role into these steps, and several of these steps are boring, they're repetitive, we're going to empower you with AI to have it do the boring things so you can spend your time on higher level work. Now that's a more positive message. That keeps good employees, and actually, fortunately, it's going to encourage the slackers to go work for the competition where they can sit around doing less work. Before we wrap up, I promised you a shortcut to deploying AI in your business. I've thought about this a lot since I've been doing it in my own businesses for a long time, so I turned it into a process. You can check out how I use AI tools with non-technical teams at Atomized.AI and see if that strategy will work for you.